The only other thing I wanted to say about open shelving was what? Mustn't have been important. We say things mustn't have been important because we forget them, but that's often untrue.
All right, hold on.
Hi and welcome to my channel, Delight Upon Delight. My name's Anissa, and this channel is all about interiors and how to create a home that serves you. So on that topic, in my home, I'm in a rental right now. There isn't that much space for food, in that we don't have a food pantry. So, and just to give some context, we are currently living overseas. And what that means is that sometimes I might go to the supermarket and I will see, just say, the lasagna sheets that we really like. And I will have to, sorry, hoard is really the only word. I'll have to buy like all the lasagna sheets that are on the shelf. And that's because sometimes then that product will not be available for months on end, like 5 months. And then we have to ask people who are coming from another country to bring that specific type of thing for us. That sounds super precious, but then we just get left with like gluten-free lasagna sheets, which is fine, I think, if you're gluten-free, but we're not. Anyway, not the point of the story. So, for example, I think, okay, I'm not gonna lie, I think we have about 12 boxes of lasagna sheets in the cupboard. You can imagine. So there is quite a bit of food that needs to be stored. So what ends up happening is that the kitchen just is about to explode, basically, with the amount of cabinetry that's in there because there isn't a pantry. So it's sort of spilled over into other container devices around the kitchen. When you're in a rental, there are several options that you can employ to try to increase the amount of space that you have in the kitchen. One of the easiest, I think, and most cost-effective long-term strategies is to bring in pieces of furniture that fit into any of the space that you have left in that kitchen area that is to your taste, that you really love. One, injects your personality and character into that space, but two, it's a movable object, which means that if you're investing in something like that, then you can, when you move to your next home or space, you can actually use that piece anywhere in your home and it will be just extra storage somewhere else in your home. So I think that's number one tip. And I've already done that. So I've got a smaller cabinet in the kitchen, and I also have a large console unit in the kitchen, which I use for extra storage. Then beyond that, you could put in like a butcher's block on wheels, or I don't know what they're called, like a rolling trolley. They're fantastic because you can always tuck them out of the way and then bring them out when you need them, especially if the space is small or you don't have enough countertop space to work on in the kitchen. The way that the door leads into this kitchen means it's very difficult for me to have something that is obstructive. So I haven't got that in this particular kitchen, but I did in another rental have something like that made. And now I'm using that even in another part of my home as a storage unit. The third thing you could do is to install extra cabinetry. This one can be a bit tricky because, one, you might want to match the existing cabinetry, which can be very difficult if it's an older kitchen, and matching it can, just cabinetry in general can be extremely expensive, and then installing it, sorry, can be a bit difficult. You do need to put a lot more holes in the wall to hold this cabinetry up. So if you have a landlord that does want the place returned the way that it was given, then you've got a lot of patching and painting to do afterwards also. But it is an option. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. You can do mismatch cabinetry too. That can work in some cases. I might find a picture of where I think mismatched cabinetry looks cute. Anyway, and I'll put it somewhere where there's space on the screen. Anyway, and then the other thing that you can do, which is what I did, is to put in floating or open shelving. It doesn't have to be floating. So this is quite a cost-effective method because shelves, I mean, you could literally use a plank of wood. Shelves are pretty inexpensive, and it requires less holes in the wall to hold the shelving up. It does limit how much weight you can put onto the shelving, but I think it's a fantastic solution if you've got extra things that you need to store and you need to empty cabinets. What I would suggest again is not to put foodstuffs or containers for food onto those open shelvings, and just reserve the open shelving for your plates or your cups or things that are in your kitchen which you're okay with seeing on a daily basis because you've selected them and you enjoy looking at them. So aesthetically it's pleasing to you, and also you're opening up a bit of space. That's what I've done here, and I'm so excited to then put my bits and pieces onto those shelves. Now, I'm using that part of the kitchen already as a place where I make coffee and the kids have breakfast. So there's a toaster there and things like that. So I'm going to primarily use the shelving to hold coffee cups, mugs, and then there's going to be two shelves. So I'll be using the top shelf as more of a storage shelf because I'm short and I cannot reach it all the time. And then the bottom shelf as a shelf to put all of the things that I want to be able to grab to go in the morning time. So I may or may not also take you to the thrift store and another cute little shop that I found, because some of the things that I found there are things that I want to put on that shelf. But I also may not. It depends. When I'm editing the video and if it gets too long and I'm blabbing too much, then I'll cut that out and I'll put it in another video. There is a video already existing, which is my first video ever, that shows me going to the thrift store, and some of those items will also be on the shelf. So you can check that out, and I will attempt to link it. I'll link it down below. I know how to do that. I'll attempt to link it at the ending of this video as well, so you can click onto it. But I cannot guarantee that I'll be able to learn how to do that in time to put this video out. I think I covered everything. So let's get started. Here's a little close-up of some of the things that I might want to put on there. Some things that I found at that Japanese, thrift shop, sorry. And some cups that we use for coffee and tea. Okay, so this is the said shelves which have been put in. Just so you have an idea, this is the rest of the kitchen. I've just moved everything from under the shelves as well, so everything's sort of stuffed on that side. Okay, so usually a lot of styling videos, if you don't know this already, people have already pre-styled that shelf or whatever it is that they're showing, and so they're just placing objects on there where they've already maybe thought of where they're going to pre-style it. I'm not doing that, so I'm just going to be freeballing it. It's probably not a very appropriate thing to say. Anyway, I'm going to just be putting it on there as I go along and videoing it. So there's going to be a bit of shifting and moving around, and that's really what styling or putting things in a particular place is really like in real life, right? We all know it. It's not just, doesn't just magically happen. We do it, and then there's iterations of it, and it might change over time. So I'm going to just do it in real time and fast forward it for you so you're not dying of boredom. But yeah, it's just as I'm doing it. And my first tip is to first put the things there that you know have to be there. So my toaster, my coffee maker, these are things that are going to have to be there. Otherwise this space is not functional for me. So I'm going to start with those immovable objects, things that I cannot not have in the space, and then I'm going to start putting things on the shelves, and that way I can see how it's balanced and how much I want to put on there or how much I want to leave off, whether it looks visually okay to me, because I do like a more minimal style. Even though I like a collected look, I don't want it to be overwhelming. So let's do it. Also, if you're wondering what's going on here, this house has got like a back section behind the kitchen. So I have to figure out what I want to do there as well. It's not the prettiest view out of the kitchen window. So I was thinking of potentially putting like a lattice up there with hanging plants, or I don't know what. Or maybe I'll just put like a half curtain or something at the window so that it's not, so you can't see that outside stuff. I don't know if I'm pointing the right direction or if it's even in this screen this time. That. I'll get better at this at some point, or not. This could be how I make videos for the rest of eternity. So if you like it, stick around, like it, and subscribe. And if you think that maybe I have potential to get better, also subscribe, because maybe I will get better and you'll like it more. Okay, thanks. I think I've said let's start this about 4 times. Let's do it. Okay guys, I made it. I videoed a little the end b-roll for you, but I'm not sure if the lighting was good enough, so I'm just going to show you now like this, because this is how it really is, and there's that background that I'm going to deal with later. But yeah, it took a lot of moving things around, and I felt good about it being useful, but also not too visually assaulting for my eyes. Visually assaulting, I don't even know if that's a thing. But yeah, this is how it kind of turned out. Let me know what you think. Hi guys, it's been a few days and I'm back. And if you've noticed, things have changed a little bit on the shelving. And I wanted to come here and say this because I think it's important. Sometimes you might set something up in a particular way, it looks beautiful, but when you live with it for a few days and see it for a few days, you realize that it's not maybe 100% something that you feel comfortable with for whatever reason. For me, I felt like, even though there were items that I own and I've shifted some of them from other places in my home to this space, seeing them together in that manner wasn't the way. I felt like it landed a little bit too heavily on, I don't know what that style is, but maybe a country cottage type thing. And I like to mix things a little bit, so if you can see here, I did mix in newer, different elements, like a more modern painting, the camera, a cute wooden skull, and that mix actually was more reflective of what my personal style is, and I feel more comfortable with the way it landed. Even though both to me looked beautiful and made sense,
this one feels better. So I just wanted to share that with you because I know that sometimes there's a lot of pressure that you've made something or someone set something up in a particular way for you and you're like, something's not right. Go back and change it. It's okay. It's your home. As you live in it and as things come and go, you are allowed to change it to make it feel right for you. And as for the other pieces that I didn't use, they either will go back to where they were from in my house, or like I said, I'm going to take some of them and you will see some of them in the styling that I'll be doing in Australia. Okay, I will see you in the next video. I'll see you in the next video.